So on the pre-show, we saw the Dark Order knock off SCU in a pretty bland match. It was all right. Colt Cabana makes the save afterward, in addition to a dark hooded figure that ended up being Christopher Daniels. Now, when I saw the figure come out, I'm thinking, oh shit, it looks like Daniels based off his frame. And then he unveiled himself, and I'm like, holy shit. Christopher Daniels cannot be the Exalted One. After all this time and all the teases and it just being made to be, and the fact that it was made to be way too obvious, it cannot be Christopher Daniels. And thankfully, it was not. He took the hooded, cap off, whatever, jumped in the ring, came to the aid of SCU. We still have no idea where he's been this entire time and why he hasn't saved SCU from their attacks at the hands of the Dark Order over the past couple months. I have no idea about that. But at least he finally reunited with Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. I thought that was cool. Yeah. So we had that, and the match was all right, and there was a tease for the Exalted One. They didn't deliver it. So here's my 2 cents on the Exalted One stuff. There's a lot of people that it could be. I talked about this before. In my mind, I've officially got my hopes up, and I'll be disappointed, quite honestly, if it's anyone else. It's got to be Matt Hardy. It's got to be Broken Matt. So here's the latest on the Broken Matt front. His contract was set to expire on Sunday, March 2nd. We've heard these rumors for months now, dating back to late last year. We've heard about these Matt Hardy rumors. His contract was coming due. I think Jeff's contract was also supposed to expire, but because he got hurt for so long, he was out for he's been out for almost a year now, since the spring of 2019. His contract has been pushed back. I wouldn't be surprised that if his contract got pushed to 2021 due to all the injuries and the setbacks that he's had and all the TV time that he's missed. So he should be back soon. He was on Backstage on Tuesday announcing that he is cleared for competition. He could be back any day now. He's just waiting for SmackDown and Creative to give him something. He's been at Backstage at SmackDown the last 2 weeks. So it looks like he's returning to SmackDown, which he probably should. I don't think really Raw needs him right now. I think he's a better fit for SmackDown, which is kind of where he made home back in 2008, 2009. That's where he won all those WWE World Heavyweight Championships and whatnot. But anyway, so back to the Matt Hardy front. That both of their contracts were supposed to expire. Jeff's contract got pushed back probably until later on this year, early 2021. And I'm not even convinced that he's leaving. He seems way more content in WWE. They seem way more willing to push him on his own than Matt Hardy for whatever reason. I know Matt Hardy, or rather Jeff, has more marketability. He's more over on his own, whatever, just because he's Jeff freaking Hardy. He doesn't really have to reinvent himself because he's Jeff Hardy. People love him naturally. Matt is the king of reinvention. He's over, and he can be over, but they just have always favored Jeff over Matt for whatever reason. And I can understand why, but he does deserve some credit, a lot of credit actually, Matt does, for being the master of reinvention constantly. Innovation and coming up with all these characters over the past 20 years that always get over. So anyway, his contract was supposed to expire on Sunday. He put up a video at midnight on Sunday, being the brilliant businessman that he is. Matt gets it. He gets it. He knew all eyes would be on him and what he would be doing next. So in his YouTube video that went out on Sunday at midnight, he announced that he is indeed a free agent. He is not choosing to re-sign with WWE at this time. He did acknowledge that he could wind right back up in WWE. He could go anywhere he wants, really. And I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. There's a very good chance, after what we saw on Wednesday on Free the Delete, that's merely a short-lived thing. It's just for his show. It doesn't really mean anything. And then you never know. I mean, he could wind back up in WWE in a few months. And I know there's a lot of rumors going around right now that he could go to NXT, which I do not think is a good fit. I love Matt Hardy. I love NXT. I hate the idea of Matt Hardy in NXT, because I don't really think the broken character fits that, the vibe of NXT, especially since that brand is way more, in-ring based. The guy isn't really, his strong suit is not in the ring anymore. And he can still go in there and have a good match, I'm sure, but, it's all about the character stuff. And NXT needs more character stuff, but it feels like a weird fit. And I don't think the Hardy Boys together should go to NXT. I don't think Matt is interested in another Hardy Boys tag team title run. They kind of got that last year and a couple years ago, and they're over together, but it's time for Matt to do something on his own again. And they just weren't interested in doing that, so we turned them down. He could always go to NXT, he could go back to Raw or SmackDown, but he did acknowledge in his video that he'll be watching, he has watched this week Impact, which he tweeted about on Tuesday. I saw him reply to a Ring of Honor-based tweet, a Ring of Honor-themed tweet from Ian Riccaboni, the play-by-play commentator for Ring of Honor. I think he tweeted about how it was 3 years ago this week that the Hardy Boys, the Broken Hardy Boys, showed up in Ring of Honor and won the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles at the Manhattan Mayhem show, which was an absolutely amazing moment. I was not there for that. I did not watch it live. I don't think it was like a live show at that point. It was like a glorified house show. But I remember Twitter blowing up and people asking whether this meant that they would still return to WWE. It was a very exciting month for the Hardy Boys in March of 2017. And it kind of feels like we're going through that again with Jeff on his way back and Matt being a free agent now, which is cool. But yeah, so, he could go to Ring of Honor. He talked in that video about how he'll be watching MLW and New Japan, NWA Power, AEW Dark, all the shows. So he's really weighing his options right now. And I'm sure I've talked about this before here on the show, but I mean, you got to assume that AEW is the best fit. I think going back to WWE would be, it's not the time for that. I would love to see him retire there. But like he said in his video, he's got a couple good years left in the ring. I do not want to see him back in WWE doing nothing, which he's, Jeff's been hurt since last year. They had the opportunity to break Matt off on his own, bring back the broken, woken stuff, or make him big money Matt with the, you don't understand how hard it is to be Matt Hardy and everything else. And they didn't do it. They chose not to do it. So he's got to go do his own thing elsewhere before he can go back to WWE. Impact is absolutely an option. Absolutely an option. Do not underestimate Impact. Yes, he did not leave on the best of terms, but the people, that were there when he left 3 years ago are no longer there. Jeff Jarrett is no longer in charge of the company, and everyone else. I know Anthem is still in charge, but he made amends with Anthem months later at the end of 2017. I think Jeff Jarrett was a big reason why they never really got along there at the end of the stint of the Hardy Boys in Impact. And now that he's no longer there, I think it speaks volumes as to how Matt Hardy views Impact, and he might think it's a great place to go back to and do the whole broken, woken stuff. And they've been doing this whole dark war shit or whatever the hell it is with Rosemary and Havoc, and Allie was involved at one point, all these other people. They've been doing that for a while. Sue Young. He could very well maybe not get involved with that, but that type of storyline tells me that they're not opposed to doing broken, type material. And Impact would take him back in a second. They need all the buzz they can get. And Matt Hardy returning to Impact, if only for a short stint, in my opinion, would be really, really cool. I don't know what you would do with him. I don't want to see him associated with Sue Young, or I don't think he's behind the ICU stuff or whatever. I don't really want to see him back in Impact. I think that's all Sami Callihan. I think that has nothing to do with Matt Hardy. It would be cool to see him in Impact. I don't want to see him as the leader of the ICU in Impact. But Ring of Honor is also an option. They need all the buzz they can get right now as well. And maybe not working matches. I think the Ring of Honor vibe and that environment would be better suited for the Hardy Boys together as opposed to Matt on his own. I know they're doing the Righteous thing right now, so maybe he could fit in there, but personally, I think AEW is the best possible fit. That's where he belongs. That's where he should go. And the wheels might already be in motion for Matt Hardy to go to AEW if the end of the Free the Delete episode from Wednesday might be any indication. Now, from my understanding, that is not the final episode of Free the Delete. It's merely part one of a larger series finale for the show on YouTube. And at the end of the episode, after all these months of the show going up, and he started the show way back when, I think in October, and he said as much on his Twitter that he had clarified that the whole idea behind the show was probably to bring back the Broken character in WWE and explain why he'd be bringing it back. But now that he's no longer in WWE, he had to kind of change plans on the fly and turn it into something new with the Young Bucks, who popped up at the end of this week's episode. So he made a phone call, said, "Can you come here right now?" Blah, blah, blah. And then the SUV pulls up on the Hardy compound at the end of the episode, and out come the Young Bucks. And they say, "What's up, Matt?" And Matt, still with his back turned to Matt and Nick, says, "The Bucks of Youth, I knew you'd come." And the episode cuts out. I thought it was a great ending. I thought it was very cool. They tied it into the end of Being the Elite, on Monday. So I kind of figured that this would be that's where this was headed. But it did not make it any less cool to see the Young Bucks at the end of that video on Wednesday. So, yeah, I think that might be where he's headed. This could very well be a red herring. They could be merely on the show for an episode or two, and then that's it. He doesn't go to AEW. Matt is a very smart businessman, like I said earlier. I would be shocked if he didn't go there. I would be very surprised. My initial impression was that Matt Hardy was staying with WWE. That soon changed after all these comments that he made on Twitter and all this other stuff in the weeks and months that followed. In the last month or two, he's made a lot of comments on social media, as has Rebby Hardy, about his status with the company and the fact they don't want to take his ideas and all this other stuff. And all these comments that he's made about, I only have a couple good years left and I really want to utilize them to the best of my ability. So with that being said, I think AEW is where he should end up. And I was very disappointed he did not show up at, Revolution. His contract wasn't up yet. But Wednesday's Dynamite I thought would be where he would have shown up, and he did not, unfortunately. That may merely be a case of them wanting to wait and hold off on Matt coming in. I think it's more a matter of when and not if he debuts. I think Wednesday would have been perfect, considering the timing of it, coming off that ending to the Free the Delete show on Wednesday, coming off the news that he's gone from WWE. His stock has never been higher, at least not in many, many years, at least since they returned to WWE. So I think this Wednesday would have been the time to do it, but hey, maybe they haven't put pen to paper yet. Maybe it's not official. Maybe they wait until next week or the week after that. Maybe they wait until Double or Nothing. I wouldn't go that far. I think that might be waiting a little too far, and the pop wouldn't be as big as it would have been this month, I would say, or even, on last night's show. But still, I think he's a perfect fit for there. And not having matches with the Young Bucks, we've already, been there, done that. That would have been cool to see again. But Jeff Hardy's currently in WWE. We can't see that right now. Matt being the leader of the Broken Order, the Dark Order as the Exalted One, as Broken Matt, to me makes the most sense. So hopefully that is what we will soon see on Unravel and AEW in the weeks to come. Again, I was a little disappointed. I know a lot of people had their hopes up for a potential appearance from Matt Hardy on Wednesday's Dynamite, but they probably have this whole thing figured out. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. It is AEW. They don't have as bad of a track record as WWE when it comes to not doing the right thing. They usually do, from what I've seen so far anyway. So hopefully it's more a matter of when and not if we'll see Matt Hardy in AEW, because I think him as the leader of the Dark Order, to me, makes too much sense to not do at this point.